Good evening. Welcome to the November 19th meeting of the Yakima School Board. Before we begin, there's a few order items I need to go through. We offer Spanish interpretation services from Jorge with Language Connection. If you need translation assistance in person, please check with Jorge for a device. Jorge, please translate this information for us. Do we have Jorge this evening? Trevor's going to fill in.
Si hay alguien que necesita traducción, interpretación, puede hablar conmigo ahora mismo y vamos a hacerlo posible. ¿Sí? ¿Nadie? Okay, gracias.
Gracias. We also provide live streaming for this meeting. The link can be found on our webpage under Board of Directors or by going directly to www.ysd7.org/board-meetings. If you wish to make a public comment this evening, there are two options available to you. The first option is for commenting on agenda items only, and the second option, which comes toward the end of the meeting, is for all other topics. In order to speak this evening, you will need to sign two forms, the sign-in form and the guidelines form. If you are interested in watching past meetings, you may find them on our webpage's YSD YouTube channel. Barb, would you call the roll, please?
Director Beckett,
Here.
Director Rice,
Here.
Director Navarro Jr.,
Here.
Vice President Villanueva,
Here.
President Walker.
Here. Now we all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready to begin? Thank you. The November character word is kind, showing compassion, friendliness, and consideration toward others. O en español amable, mostrando compasión, amabilidad y consideración hacia los demás. And now for our land acknowledgement.
Today, the schools of the Yakima School District rest on the ancestral lands of the 14 confederated tribes and bands of the Yakima Nation.
Hoy las escuelas del Distrito Escolar de Yakima descansan en las tierras ancestrales de las 14 tribus y bandas confederadas de la nación Yakima.
The people of the Yakima Nation inhabited more than 12 million acres.
La gente de la nación Yakima habitó más de 10 billones de acres.
Across Adams, Benton, Chelan, Douglas, Franklin, Grant, Kittitas, Klickitat, and Yakima counties.
En los condados de Adams, Benton, Chelan, Douglas, Grant, Franklin, Kittitas, Klickitat, y Yakima.
Today we honor those native peoples who are tied to the land through history, legends, and culture.
Hoy honramos a estos pueblos originales que están vinculados en la tierra a través de historias, leyendas y culturas.
We acknowledge the descendants who live in the world today.
Reconocemos a sus descendientes que viven en el mundo de hoy.
We thank the caretakers of this land who have lived here and continue to live here since time immemorial.
Agradezcamos a los guardianes de la tierra, quienes han vivido aquí y continúan viviendo aquí desde tiempos inmemoriales.
An acknowledgement is a simple, powerful way to show respect.
Un reconocimiento es una manera simple y poderosa de mostrar respeto.
And a step toward correcting the stories and practices that erase indigenous peoples' history and culture.
Y un paso hacia la corrección de las historias y prácticas que borran la historia y la cultura de los pueblos indígenas.
It also honors the truth. También honra la verdad. As a school district, we will continue to build upon our relations with the Yakima Nation.
Como distrito escolar, continuaremos fortaleciendo nuestras relaciones con la nación Yakima.
Thank you, students. Now, before we continue with the agenda, we need a motion from the board to remove two items from the agenda, items C3 and C4. Jake Cooper is ill this evening, so we will defer his reports until the December 2nd meeting. Do I hear a motion from the board?
I move that we remove items C3 and C4 from tonight's agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to move those two items to the next meeting. Laura, would you call the roll, please?
Director Beckett,
Aye.
Director Navarro Jr.,
Aye.
Director Rice,
Aye.
Vice President Villanueva,
Aye.
President Walker.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Next up, we would like to take a moment of silence to honor the memory of Robert L. McLaughlin, known fondly as Dr. Bob. He was a longtime CTE teacher in the district, and then he was principal at Davis High School, and then he served as the superintendent of the Union Gap District. There is an obituary attached to the board docs. However, I'd like to highlight just a couple things that he accomplished when he was at Davis. One was he initiated the Yamate Japanese Student Exchange. He brought the IB program to Davis, and he was a longtime champion of career and technical education. Those are just a few of the things he accomplished in his service to the Yakima School District. So would you join me in a moment of silence to honor Bob McLaughlin? Thank you. And now we have a special recognition this evening. We have some midterm retirees that we would like to honor this evening. I believe what we'd like you to do when we read your name, if you're here, would you come forward and shake our hands? And then we have a plaque for you. So I believe we start with Jamie Batista.
Thank you, President Walker. We are beginning tonight honoring Jamie Bautista. Is Jamie here? Okay, well then we'll skip the horseshoe part, but I'll read the acknowledgement here. Throughout her 28 years with the Yakima School District, Jamie was a cherished member of the YEOP team, known for her warmth, mentorship, and unwavering dedication. Jamie created a legacy defined by kindness, steadfast support for new team members, and the strong bonds she forged with parents. Jamie will be missed, yet her influence will doubtless continue to resonate within YEOP Union. She ended her career at Stanton Academy as an office manager. She worked for the Yakima School District from September of 1996 to June of 2024. Please join me in congratulating Jamie. Next up is John Kavanaugh. Is John here this evening? I didn't see John. Okay. John dedicated 30 years to the Yakima School District, where he spent his teaching career at Franklin Middle School as a CTE technology teacher and coached wrestling, football, volleyball, and soccer. His dedication to both his students and colleagues led him to become a prominent advocate for educators. In his final years of his career, John served as president of the Yakima Education Association, championing the rights and needs of teachers across the district. John's legacy is one of commitment, leadership, and unwavering support for education. He worked for the Yakima School District from September of 1994 to August of 2024. Congratulations, John. Is Charles Brulé here? Charles, welcome. Come on up while I'm talking about you. Charles dedicated 40 years of service to the Yakima School District. Throughout his career, he worked in custodial services at Hoover Elementary for 24 years, Stanton Academy for 13 years, congratulations, and concluded his career at the PDC warehouse. He leaves behind a legacy of hard work and commitment to the district. He worked for the Yakima School District from December of 1984 to June of 2024. Congratulations, Charles.
Next up, we have Aaron Chaplin. Erin dedicated 15 years to the Yakima School District, culminating her career as the Executive Director of Curriculum and Instruction within the Teaching and Learning Department. Erin played a pivotal role in advancing educational programs and shaping curriculum to enhance student learning and achievement. She left a legacy of innovating, dedication, and profound commitment to academic excellence. Erin worked for the Yakima School District from July of 2009 through June of 2024. Turn off the flash. Next up, we have Sherry Chenard. Is Sherry here this evening? Sherry dedicated 12 years to the Yakima School District, bringing care and dedication to every kitchen she worked in. She began her journey at Adams Elementary, later moving to McClure and then Eisenhower High School as the lead cook. In 2014, she joined Stanton Academy as lead cook, where her leadership and commitment to students earned her a promotion to kitchen manager. Sherry remained in this role, ensuring students were nourished and welcomed until her retirement. Sherry worked for the Yakima School District from October of 2012 through August 31st of 2024. Kathy Cook. Kathy was a dedicated member of the Yakima School District for 31 years. She worked tirelessly behind the scenes to provide students with nutritious meals that fueled their learning. During her career, Kathy worked at Wilson Middle School, Gilbert Elementary, and Franklin Middle School, where she ended her career as a cook. She worked for the Yakima School District from November of 1993 through September of 2024. Is Kathy here? Kevin Fuchek. Is Kevin here this evening? Good. I hope I pronounced his name correctly. Kevin served the Yakima School District for 13 years. He began as a paraeducator working at Davis High School, then went to Lewis and Clark Middle School and ended his career at Stanton Academy. He worked for the Yakima School District from 8/29/2011 through August 31st, 2024. Congratulations to Kevin. Did I say his name right, Dave? Oh, Visick. Okay. Thanks for correcting me.
Next, we have Geneva Frazier. Is Geneva here today? She is. Wonderful. Geneva devoted an incredible 41 years to the Yakima School District. She initially served as a long-term sub at Broadway, now Ridgeview Elementary, later teaching at Staten, Garfield, and McKinley Elementary Schools. In 1995, she was honored with the Crystal Apple Award, a testament to her exceptional commitment to education. Geneva spent most of her career teaching second grade at Roosevelt Elementary, where she eventually transitioned to teaching kindergarten. She has had a remarkable teaching career and was dedicated to nurturing young minds and inspiring future generations. She worked for the Yakima School District from September 1, 1983 to August 31, 2024. Is Magdalena Fuentes here? Okay. Magdalena dedicated 35 years of her career to the Yakima School District, teaching exclusively at Whitney Elementary. She served the district with commitment and passion, leaving a lasting impact on generations of students and colleagues alike. She worked for the Yakima School District from September 1, 1989 to August 31, 2024.
And I'd like to add one comment. I had the privilege of working with Maggie at Whitney, and she absolutely loved her students and they loved her back. She was a tremendous teacher.
Next is Renee Green. Is Renee here? Renee dedicated 22 years of her career to the Yakima School District. She was a dedicated and compassionate member of the YEOP Union and was known for her warmth and commitment. With a heart of gold, she consistently nurtured families and formed invaluable connections with parents. Her hard work and readiness to lend a hand wherever truly needed reflect her character. She ended her career at Robertson Elementary as an office manager. She worked for the Yakima School District from February 1, 2002 to August 1, 2024.
Next, we'd like to honor Lawrence Henning. Is Lawrence here? Lawrence dedicated 32 years to the Yakima School District, teaching at Washington Middle School, Barge Lincoln Elementary, Hoover Elementary, and Wilson Middle School. He concluded his career as a teacher at Yakima Online. He worked for the Yakima School District from December 17, 1992 to October 31, 2024. Lawrence Henning. Joyce Hicks. Joyce served as a head cook with the Yakima School District for 28 years. In her early career, she worked at both Adams Elementary and Davis High School. In the early 2000s, she became the full-time head cook at Adams Elementary, where she joyfully served hundreds of students every day, making sure they felt cared for through the meals she prepared. She concluded her career at Adams Elementary. She worked for the Yakima School District from November 18, 1996 to August 31, 2024. Joyce Hicks. Gary Kim. Gary served as a custodian with the Yakima School District for 22 years. Gary demonstrated hard work and dedication as a custodian, always willing to help when needed. He worked at Hoover Elementary, Eisenhower High School, and concluded his career at Whitney Elementary. His commitment in maintaining clean, safe, and welcoming environments for students and staff was evident in his work. He worked for the Yakima School District from December 9, 2002 to December 31, 2024. Gary Kim.
Next is Wesley Nelson. There he is. Wesley dedicated 9 years of service to the Yakima School District, ending his career as an English language arts teacher at Davis High School. He worked for the Yakima School District from August 16, 2015 through August 31st, 2024. Wesley Nelson. Next is a true servant leader that we all know very well and has served not only the Yakima School District, but the community of Yakima for many years, and that is none other than Mayor John Puccinelli. Mayor Puccinelli dedicated 20 years to the Yakima School District, including concluding his career as a valued school bus driver in the transportation department. Mayor Puccinelli is known for his unwavering commitment to student safety, his readiness to help whenever needed, and his genuine care for the well-being of the students on his bus. He went above and beyond to create a safe, supportive environment for every student he transported. His dedication and loyalty to the district's best interests were evident every day. He worked for the Yakima School District from March 15, 2004 through August 31st, 2024. Mayor John Puccinelli. Next, we do have Colleen Woodcock. Colleen dedicated 17 years to the Yakima School District, leaving an indelible mark on Davis High School, where she spent her entire career. A leader among her peers, Colleen served multiple times as the World Language Department Chair and facilitated numerous professional learning teams, fostering collaboration and growth within the school community. She ended her career as a CTE American Sign Language teacher, inspiring students to embrace the importance of communication and inclusivity. Colleen's legacy at Davis reflects her passion, dedication, and commitment to excellence in education. She worked for the Yakima School District from August 29, 2007 through August 31st, 2024. Colleen Woodcock.
Mr. President,
Yes.
did the math.
Uh-oh.
The folks that we've recognized this evening have a cumulative history of service to the Yakima School District of 395 years. It's quite an accomplishment. Thank you so much for everything that you've done.
Thank you, board, for participating in the reading of those names, and thank you, retirees, for your many, many, many years of service. Next up on our agenda, we have Ms. Jewel Brumley, and I believe she's providing a report on. Oh, do we need more photo ops for the families? Okay, apparently not. Okay, Ms. Jewel Brumley. Folks that came for recognition, if you're interested in staying for the entire meeting, you're welcome, but you can take this opportunity to go celebrate somewhere.
Yes.
So Joel will be reporting to us in Golan's report number 5.
Good evening, President Walker and members of the board, Dr. Green. I'm here to talk about the INS report for Goal 5. Our global INS statement from our roadmap, our compass, is one of the 5 goals that we work on, and this one is about persistence through graduation and beyond. Students, as they transition out of high school, we want to make sure that they're ready for college, career, and post-secondary experiences. As you can see pictured here, we have a couple of graduates from the 2024 class. Trenton is the Davis grad you see. I actually know Trenton very well. He signed for CBC. He's going to play baseball for them this spring. So he's attending CDC. He has not declared what he wants to go on into yet. He's exploring classes as he's at college. He could have signed in golf also. He's just got an incredible swing. So, and Jocelyn from Eisenhower, she is at YV Tech or YVC this year. She is doing the veterinarian tech program, and her goal is to go on and become a veterinarian. But she's starting close to home at YVC. We didn't have a Stanton graduate pictured because we didn't have professional photography at Stanton's graduation. It's something we'll correct this year. But we have lots of great graduates at Stanton Academy also. The global end statement means all students, no exceptions. We want all students to graduate either on time or within the first 6 years. So on-time graduation is at the end of their 4th year of high school, or in the summer. We had several summer graduates this year. As you know, earlier in the year, we honored those summer graduates. So that still count if they graduated before school started. This year, they still count as last year's graduation class. So we're going with the state graduation reported rates. This is the Yakima School District as a whole. As you can see, the class of 2024, our 4-year graduation rate is 81.8. That is up. If you follow down the line for the past few years, we have increased every year. Our 5-year graduation rate also increases, and our 6-year graduation rate is not, is kind of level right now. But that is all, that's Yakima School District as a whole. So that's each high school, Davis, Eisenhower, Stanton, Yakima Online, Open Doors. So that's a collective graduation rate. You'll see individual schools later in the presentation. In persistence beyond graduation, this data is pulled again from OSPI, but from the Education Center for and Data Center for how students do after they graduate high school. You'll see Davis has 26% of the students go on to a 4-year university, 22% in a 2-year university, and 52% into the workforce. Eisenhower has similar numbers. Stanton has more going into the workforce, but if you look at that state rate, our 2-year university is right in line with what the state average is. Graduation rate by school. So Davis has 89.1% graduation rate, and that's 4 years. Eisenhower has 86.7, and Stanton inclusive with YOL and Open Doors has a 44.1%. So remember our combined rate was 81.2. I don't know, I'd have to go back and look. Sorry, 0.8. Okay, thank you. Graduation of students by category. These numbers are slightly volatile in some of the categories because we have very few students in those categories by ethnicity. Native American went up a little last year from the year before. Asian American stayed the same. Black American went down. Again, the in value, if there's a number of, you know, if it's under 10 or 12 students and 2 or 3 don't make it, that can change the rate quite a bit. As you see, Native Hawaiian, we didn't have any the year before. And so then last year in 2023, we had 2/3 of them graduate. So our Hispanic, 2 or more races, and white are our biggest categories. And as you can see, our graduation rates go up or down, but our pretty much level. So we're working on that with more college and high school. We should see more graduates. One of the slides that are in your board docs that are not in the presentation is also by category of special needs students, migrant students, homeless students. So those slides are there for your reference also. Any questions?
Any questions or comments for Julie?
I just want to commend this graduating students and our staff on having the 4-year graduation rate that we do. And I know that when we get to the 5-year and 6-year, those numbers go up, and we are very close to. I know last year we had like 96% district-wide graduating eventually.
Yes, over time.
Yeah. So I know for a lot of these students, life gets in the way of, completing high school on time. But the persistence of those students, the resilience of those students, and the persistence of our staff to follow up with those students is to be congratulated. It would be easy to say, we worked with you for 4 years and now you're kind of on your own. Our staff doesn't give up.
No,
And neither did these students. These students persevere right to the end. And I just am in awe of what some of these students have to go through on a day-to-day basis, or some of the huge barriers that they've had to overcome over the course of their short lives. I don't think they get enough credit. And so I just want to congratulate all of them here publicly. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, quick question. Jewel, on slide 7, I think I see the state average for the persistence rate. Do we have an idea of what the state average would be if we were looking at slide 5, as far as if we have about approximately an 80%, 81% graduation rate? What's the state average on that right now?
For the graduation rate. Okay,
No,
which one
I'm
are
just
you
looking,
at?
I'm thinking like slide 5 has,
Persistence rate is how are they staying in college the next year after the first year or the
Yeah.
second year?
and I understand that from slide 7,
Mhm.
but if I'm looking at slide 5, is this talking about what our actual graduation rate is for our district? per
No,
year?
that's the rate of the students that in the 5th year or the 6th year graduated from the ones that didn't make it in the 4 years. So after 4 years of graduation, we have 81%, and then in the 5th year, we have another 80% of the ones that were left
Gotcha.
graduated, and then another 80% after that in the 6th year.
And do we have data from OSBI or somebody on what the state average would look
Ooh, I
like?
don't have that, but I'd have to look it up. I can email it to you. I'll
Thank you.
email it to the board.
Just be curious.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Yes, I just can't help to notice the white students in regards to graduation rate. It seems like over the last 2-3 years, there's been a downward trend. I know the white student population has had the highest graduation rate, and from the data here, it looks like they're out of the 7 groups, they're 5th. And it looks like there's a downward trend. So I'm just wondering if you have any ideas what that's about, or what's going on, or because it's catching my attention after a couple of years now that that there's a downward trend. So I'm just curious about that.
I don't have an answer for that, but I can look into it. I'm not sure. I'd have to look up the stats on that for each high school to see how that changes by the high schools, because what you're looking at is the overall for all the high schools together.
Yeah, that's what I'm basing my thoughts, my comments on, is over the last, using this data, it seems like the other student groups are increasing the graduation rate while the white student population or group is decreasing. And I don't know, maybe that I'm misinterpreting, or I'm not remembering correctly, but I think I like to examine that a little bit more to make sure we're
We'll pull the
capturing
trend
all
data
that data. Okay,
and send another graph.
sure. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think along that line, the N number, the number of actual students in that category is pretty low. So when there's a change of 1 or 2 students can make a huge change in the percentage because it's such a low number of students. And I think it's the same with Native American students. I think are less than 2% of our student population, and African American students are.
So what is the N for?
But I don't know the
student
N number. It
population?
doesn't show on this graph.
Is it like
but-
25-30% in most schools?
No,
Yeah,
we're
that's
at
significant.
87% Hispanic in most of our schools. So in the high schools, so the N value for the white students has to be below, 15% or less.
So we're saying due to statistical analysis that it's decreasing, or student population or number that it's decreasing. So I like to just dive a little deeper into that and not say it's the N size, because that doesn't say much to me anyway. So I just
when you think that the 87% fall in the category of Hispanic students, that's 13%. Of all the other categories, 13% of the students. So those N sizes for each of those other categories are going to be a very small number of students.
So then how do we determine significance in terms of the data? And if we're looking at data here that has low N numbers, then this doesn't mean anything to me then. It doesn't have any significance.
It helps to know the N numbers in those, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. If we're saying that the graduation rate for the Asian American students is 100%, but they're only 0.05%, what does that really mean, right?
It's not a meaningful statistic.
So that's what I'm kind of getting to. So I just like to dive a little bit more into the data and kind of figure out what really is.
Trevor, did you have a comment?
Absolutely. So as you know, this report is made accessible to the board in advance. If upon reviewing this, if you ever have questions ahead of time and can get me those concerns, we can certainly prepare that in advance. There's certainly nothing wrong with asking those questions now. And what I have shared with each of the board members via chat is a link to the OSPI report card. So if you access the link in the chat, it does give you the option to type in Yakima, and you can look specifically at all types of Yakima data and break it down and find all of that information on the report card. If you go down right below Yakima, there's a link that says Washington State, and that will give you all of the Washington State data. So it's all there. It's what Jewel would use to pull up. So I wanted to send that to you directly, because that's something that you could certainly play around with, and then you could actually look at the number of students. It'll have the percentage, and then it'll also have the total number of students in the district. So it's just a small mathematical equation to figure out exactly what that number is. And we can follow up with that N size on all the different subgroups. So, but anyway, it's available for you. It's in your chat, and feel free to explore that option and look at all types of different data that comes across, not only on graduation rate, but on achievement. It has socioeconomic status, has all of the different subgroups, and we're happy to respond to any of that other concerns that you might have after reviewing that data. And then we'll follow up with those concerns.
Thanks for the clarification. Any other questions or comments from the board? Thank you, Jewel, for a nice report.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Mr. Marietta, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. regarding policy 6800, a report to the board on the development, operations, and maintenance of school property.
Thank you. You should have all had 6800 in your uploaded documents in order for you to review. If you have any questions or concerns, this operating procedure is basically telling us that we have an obligation to review our buildings, review our playground equipment, ensure that it's safe, ensure that we have a plan in place to evaluate them, upkeep them, and stay abreast of all of the situation. Every few years we go over this. We do upload this every year. I give a similar report. If there is any changes to the WASDA policy, or if there's any changes in an RCW or WAC, then we will make the additional changes. But we also have operational procedures in these documents as well. So for instance, it may not be a requirement of the law to have a facility impact form completed before any equipment is purchased or donated, but that's more of an operational procedure that we want to ensure before somebody just donates and leaves a piece of, let's say, playground equipment for a school that wouldn't meet the standards or safety. That's our internal protocol. I'm willing to take any questions or answer any concerns that you have.
Any
Just one-
questions or comments?
Yeah, just one around, we generally don't see operational procedures, so I'm wondering what, guess I'm just trying to understand why this is coming before the board when we don't usually, like, is there?
I'm going to pull a Marshawn Lynch and say I only do what I'm told. So when it comes, we have a schedule, it comes around.
I can
was
answer
told
that. It's in a policy that needs to be a special report to the board outside of just regular policy governance, because we don't take the 6,000 series to the board. And so this one's a special one pulled out because in this one, it says it has to come once in the board, once a year. I see.
Thank you, Barb, for saving me.
Is this a state requirement? Do we know?
It was in our policy or in our procedure.
So what I do know as part of the state policy is that we have to review the buildings every year, and every 6th year we have to have a third party review it on our behalf. Historically, we pay an outside service to do that. One of the things that we coordinated with the OSPI representative was getting other school districts of like size. So for instance, we all went through the training together, and our interest would be a school district such as the size of Pasco is similar in size. So when the 6th year comes around, instead of us paying a third party to come in and do this, we would enter into a reciprocating agreement with Pasco, and they would come in and do it for us. And then when it's their 6th year, we would go over there and do it for them, trying to be a little more fiscally responsible. So that is part of the law, and we did this a little bit differently this last year. I also have our maintenance director here, just in the event that you had any questions or concerns. But I can tell you that from the aspects of what is in the law and what we must comply with, that's part of it. Maybe I went a little too far into the weeds, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update of the who, what, where, and why.
Well, since it is coming before us, I guess I'll just share some thoughts on, particularly around item number 3, playground equipment. Seems like that's an opportunity maybe to update that section to include a review of playground equipment through the lens of equity. And as we do our school tours and see the playgrounds of different schools, there isn't consistency there in the quality of playground equipment, and that isn't necessarily we have unending funds to upgrade playground facilities. But as we looked at our board policy on equity, I think that could be an opportunity to look at all of the facilities through that equity lens.
We have conducted an audit of our playgrounds, particularly focusing on accessibility for students with disabilities. We'd be happy to share that in its entirety with the board. So we'll make a note to get that report to you. The biggest holdup is exactly what you're talking about, which is the funding to replace those. We have many playgrounds that have been grandfathered in, and then of course legally don't necessitate a change. But the moral and the right thing to do is, of course, make them accessible to all of our students, and that is in the plans, and we're working towards that. But we'll make a note and we'll share that report with the board.
Thank you. You just answered my question.
And to maybe tee that up a little bit, part of fact,
So Graciela, you're asking for a change in the policy itself, right? Is that what your question or your comment?
Yeah, wonderful that we've done that original that study that you'd mentioned, but hard coding the request or the process of looking at playground equipment and some of these other items through the lens of equity would ensure that a review like that is ongoing and continual and not just a one-time activity. Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Moving on. Members of the board updates.
Annual conference is this weekend. Hopefully the weather holds out and we can get to Spokane. It's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And I know that there will be at least two of us there, as well as some of senior staff.
Yes, I believe Mr. Marietta will be attending. Yes.
And I wanted to let the board know that I did complete some suggested edits to our policy 1400 and got those to Bob. So I expect to see that probably at the next meeting for first reading.
Any other updates from the board? Okay. Next up, Dr. Green, Superintendent's update.
Thank you, President Walker, members of the board. Several items to share with you. I'll move along rather quickly. We've had a very active 2 weeks, which means there are lots of wonderful things happening across our system. First, we had MLK had a Science on Wheels event that took place. Science on Wheels is through the Pacific Science Center, and it's bringing STEM in a mobile outreach program. It's designed to make science accessible to our students and make it engaging. It was through a grant that both Hoover and MLK were able to participate in that program. Wonderful thing is we had Senator Torres that was in attendance viewing the different programs that happened over a 2-day period. So we were able to get some very good personal time with Senator Torres, after which we were able to engage with her about the possibility to have the access be district-wide instead of individually through school-to-school application. So Hector Mendez is currently working with the Pacific Science Center to see if there's a way to adjust that in accordance with the wishes now of Senator Torres based on what she saw at MLK. We had Adams Project 700, which is to provide warm clothes, access to other toys and holiday things for students at Adams Elementary. I remember 5-6 years ago, starting here, I think it was called Adams Project 300. So it continues to grow. 700 is, of course, the number of students that are being served. So I'm very excited about that. That program, it's continual growth, the way that it brings the entire community together based around Adams. So kudos to the team there, the counselor team that puts that together along with our principal team. So it's just a phenomenal program. I believe there was a great report through the news station. And if you haven't already received that, I'll make sure that you get a copy of that as well. We had a migrant K-8 family night at Washington Middle School last week as well. It was wonderful to be there and to see our parents working with our students and math, engaged in math learning, in helping them to continue to grow and learn where their students are and what they can do to support them. We also had a PLC training. There were 2 of them. One was virtual and one was in person. It was for instructional facilitators and principals. And we had a UW Early Learning Fellowship with the Balmer Group funding that entire experience. So we are the only district in the state that is working on that Early Learning Fellowship, which is involved around inclusion, family engagement, and wellness. And that second session took place after going to Seattle for the opening session a couple of months ago. So we're excited about the growth and possibilities there as well. Continuing with what has happened over the last 2 weeks, I've had 3 meetings actually with the city manager. Very excited about the new relationship with our city manager and the focus that she has on building partnerships and relationships. I'm very excited about that. Do keep in mind that we do have a mutual kind of issue over at Washington Middle School with the addition of the water park and accessibility to the parking lots that we're working through. We're also working through some contractual consolidations, having numerous open contracts around the district that bind the district and the city together. Some have expired. They're being consolidated. Others expire all the way out, I believe, in 2041 is when the last one expires. So by that point, we'll have all of them in one wrapped up contract, but that's a ways off. But we're excited about looking for mutual opportunities to support one another, especially with the financial challenges that not only are affecting school districts across the state, but our city as well. We also have the legislative breakfast, just making sure that you're aware that on December 17th, the legislative breakfast is a go. It is going to be at the YVC Conference Center on 16th and Nob Hill. ESD 105 confirmed that Senator King and Senator Torres will both be in attendance. So that is December 17th from 8:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., a 2-hour session. So we will be in touch to make sure that if you'd like to attend that event, that we make sure that you're able to do so.
Do we know if any of our new legislators will be there?
We only have confirmation on Senator King and Senator Torres at this moment, but I'm sure that ESD will continue to work up until that moment. As you recall, last year we were only able to have Senator King at the session, so we're excited that we have double that this year, and hopefully we'll continue to see that grow. But great question, and I will forward that on to our superintendent of the ESD. Other questions? All right, another couple of items just to share the last few items here. We have the Davis Auditorium. We do have an opening celebration on December 4th. So that should be marked in your calendars if you can attend that. I know that that'll be on the update of calendar updates, and the time is already recorded there for you. So just a reminder of that opening December 4th celebration of the Performing Arts Center. We also will have chairs available to the public, so we're working on that. I know that's been kind of a long ongoing process. I'm looking at our director of maintenance right now because I'm sure he would love to get some well-deserved space back in our storage where we've had many of those chairs stored over the last several years. So we're looking forward to get that back, and I want to thank him publicly for making sure that he was able to keep those aside, and we'll make those available to the public. They will be by donation, so we'll make sure we reach out to the board here around those donations. And
Are you talking about the auditorium seating?
The auditorium seating.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, auditorium seating. Those little wooden chairs. Yes, wooden chairs.
So exciting.
Yeah, and then we've also then offered training to our administration and any of the teachers needing access to the Davis Auditorium. That is a by volunteer basis to make sure that we are addressing the potential that could occur there. So mainly taking care of the facility, making sure that we're monitoring proper setup, maintenance, and enforcing school discipline rules, and making sure there's no negligence taking place. So we've had John Pleasant, of course, has signed off on that. So he's our main touch point there, as well as our administration. So we'll continue to make that available for all of those who want to use that facility in preparatory work for major performances. For the performances themselves, we do have access through our principals and through John Pleasant's, but mainly through our principals and opening that up. We did have a 4-day session over there with the latest drama play, the presentation that happened. So that was the last couple of weeks. We're happy about that performance. With that, the last item that I have, and I'd ask, if I could, I'd ask Kristen Fitter to come up here to the podium. We wanted to share with you the budget webpage. It's very important to take a look at this as well, because it truly does have some great information that we want you to be aware of, specifically the gaps in state funding. The royal we, it's Kirsten, has created this document, which has been widely celebrated across the state as a visual that can help really understand where we're at financially when you're looking at the gaps in state funding. So we've seen this replicated in many parts of the state, and I've shared it with several colleagues It originated, I'd like to say that we started it, but it did actually start in Bainbridge Island. They shared it with us, and then we improved it and passed it on. And it's gained a lot of traction, especially special education, materials, MSOC, and transportation, known as the big three across the state. I feel very confident in saying that there has never been a more unified approach from the educational organizations in the state around mutual agreeable items that will support and benefit all of our schools without depending on the socioeconomic status, and that's something that's really rare. We did add as well the substitute teacher staff, and if you pan down a little further there, Barb, you'll be able to see, just farther. We just want to see the sense. I'm sorry, can you go back? Yeah, right there is fine. So you can see the gaps of cost. And go ahead, Kristen, I'll turn it over to you here for the presentation.
Sure, thank you, Dr. Green. Good evening, Board of Directors. I did want to bring this to your attention as it is the budgeting season. We created this website last year, and it is what we consider our budget realignment website. We have a lot of information here, and as the season goes on, we will continue to collect information, any necessary graphics, media articles, etc. So I will just take a couple of minutes to go through this with you. Just a reminder that it can be found very easily by going to ysd7.org, which is our main website address, and then just a /budget. So anytime you want to get information on our budget, you can get that there. The colors are a little washed out on this screen here, and so you can see a little bit better differentiation up on your monitors here if you look there, but I will point out some items. As you can see, we do have our main graphic here for our 4 gaps in state funding, and then maybe a little bit hard to read, but you can click on that and go to a Spanish version of this as well. So having that bilingual representation is always very important, and we have that included as well. And just scrolling down one sentence there, Barb, thank you. What Dr. Green was talking about is that we were inspired by a graphic that was produced by Bainbridge Island. So we created our own, and then we shared our template actually on this budget website. So we get a lot of attention to this website because you can see the click here to make it your own. So all of the different districts can go to that link, put in their own colors, their own brand, and their numbers, of course, and then make this graphic their own. So hopefully that will get some traction with our state legislators. As you continue to go down, we have some content and information for you, including some enrollment trends. As you know, our budget is defined by enrollment. And then we have more information about all of the rising costs that are occurring both in Washington and nationwide. We include our budget realignment timeline. So if you want to go back all the way to last year to the public hearing, etc., and go through the different major elements that were part of that realignment timeline, what we will do when Mr. Cooper is back with us and does his year-end presentation and then his upcoming budgeting presentations is we will collapse that into a 23-24 school year and then bring in a new realignment timeline for the 24-25. So that will be there and updated. In addition, we have on the right side the kind of Q&A. So the most common questions and answers are there. By clicking on the plus signs to it, it will expand to the answers. And so anytime we get a question asked a few times, we make sure we include it in the FAQ. Scrolling down a little bit further, we have all of our in the news information. So we've tried to make this kind of a portal, not just for YSD, but for different districts and state entities to reference. So we have a lot of news articles that have been in the news that have impacted Washington State, but we've also collected some from around the country. And you can see that that has gotten very long over this last school year with so much information. And then finally, very hard to see on this washed out screen, but Barb, I don't know if you can see in the lower right corner, you can see the little bug, the YSD bug. That is actually a button where you can press, and when it's not as washed out, it says ask a budget question. And this allows anybody that's on the website that can't quite find what they're looking for to ask a question. And then that comes to my office, and I would work with Mr. Cooper to have that answered. So just wanted to bring your attention to ysd7.org/budget, and 'tis the season. Any questions?
Thank you. I do have one question. In some of our internal discussions on budget, there was a document that showed typical district costs, and I think it may have been ours, and the impact of inflation. We've heard a lot about inflation in terms of the business world and groceries and every family's struggles in terms of family budget. But there was a document that itemized inflationary costs like fuel, all the other things that districts spend money on. That would be a useful document, I think, to include in here.
Thank you. I will do that. Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you.
Thank you for putting this together, Kristen.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Green. Any other questions or comments from the superintendent's update? Okay. Now we have calendar.
Yes, we do. And I'm going to do my best to read from here. We'll test
Good
my
luck with that.
54-year-old eyes here. Barb, you're going to have to blow that up for me a little bit. As you can see, on December 2nd at 4 p.m. at MLK Jr., we have our board meeting. And then on December 17th, we have a board meeting at 7 o'clock at Central Services. On January 6th at 4 p.m., we're at McClure Elementary. January 13th, start time is at 8:30 a.m. Thanks, everyone. School board retreat at Central Services. And then on January 21st at 7 p.m., another board meeting here at Central Services. And we do have just one state volleyball that I can see here is November 22nd and 23rd. So that is coming up here starting at 9:45 a.m. at the Sun Dome, Davis High School. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments or other calendar things for the board to offer up? Okay, we have now arrived at the opportunity for comment from the public on agenda items only. Is there anyone registered to comment? Second opportunity only. Okay, thank you. Next up, we have the consent agenda. We have minutes from the October meetings. We have notification of approval of warrants for October, approval of personnel actions in certified and classified personnel, 3 budget status reports for August, September, and October. Is there any item on the consent agenda that you would like to see removed for discussion? Seeing no requests, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Another opportunity for any questions or comments? Barb, call the roll, please.
Director Beckett,
Aye.
Director Navarro Jr.,
Aye.
Director Rice,
Aye.
Vice President Villanueva,
Aye.
President Walker.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Next up, we have approval of resolution 04.24.25, the authorization to declare an emergency waiver for expense at Ridgeview Elementary. I believe there was a flood over one of the vacations that we needed to address financially. So, Mr. Murrieta.
Thank you. Since I've been over this department, we have brought the board emergency declarations, and historically it's been a little late because we didn't recognize that we would go over the dollar value. So recently we had a break in a water line. It caused extensive damage. We were able to get it shut off in time. In all honesty, we may not literally go over the dollar value, but it's going to be close one way or the other. And the reality of it is, because of a water break and needing immediate remediation, we didn't go through the regular bid process. We got a hold of a remediation company and started in right away. So we wanted to bring this to you as quickly as possible. I have our director of maintenance who can answer any specific questions that you may have, and we are on our way to having that repaired.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
Is there a way to like do a test on the water lines to make sure that they don't just burst during vacations or things like that? I mean, I don't know anything about water lines. I'll admit that right up front. But is there any way to like stress test them or something like that?
I am not aware of. Well, we're gonna have Kyle answer that. No, thank you.
Kyle, the
You have to hit
expert.
the little button and then tap it to make sure it's.
Good. To answer, so on this leak, it was actually on the HVAC system. So on some of our buildings, we run a hot and cold water loop. And so you have a centralized boiler, and it runs, anywhere between 120 and 180 degree water throughout the building, blows it past coils, and that's how we heat and cool the building. So at Ridgeview, we do have that type of a system. We do monitor both rust levels, and we have to keep intact our, we have a rust preventative chemical that we actually run through these pipes, because most of them are steel or copper. So we do monitor that yearly. On this one, it was a rubber flex coupling that actually blew. We got pretty lucky on this one. The fire department was able to come help us out, get it shut down. But this one specifically, the big concern was the gym floor. And so it leaked right over the top of the gym storage area, got underneath the gym floor. So we wanted to get right on that and get drying out as quickly as possible. So we do monitor that throughout the district as best as possible. And we measure the glycol levels as well as the rust inhibitors that we use, and try to do the best job we can.
Thank you, Kyle. My apologies for digging down into the weeds on this.
That's fine. The other thing that I'd like to point on is we do have what's called Leak Alert. And so that's a program that we run through the city of Yakima as well, that if we have water continuously flowing for 24 hours, it alerts both our on-call phone, my work cell phone, and that way we can act on that as quickly as possible as well.
Kyle, how did the fire department know that we had the leak? Because obviously a lot of water damage could happen in 24 hours. So what happened here? Maybe that will help alleviate some concerns.
So the fire department gets an alert if they have a water movement alarm, which is typically on our fire sprinkler systems. And that's where you're going to see the highest use, because we run anywhere between 3 and 6 inch water lines for the sprinkler system. And so they get an alert if water is moving very quickly in a short amount of time. And so they've been really good to work with. They will call our on-call guy or myself, and then they also will respond to the building. And on this one, the water flow came through as a fire system, but it actually was on the HVAC system, because all of it ties back to the domestic water supply. So, but yes, the fire department typically gets an alert if there's a large amount of water that moves quickly, and then they call us and also respond.
Thank you. So what you need from the board is approval to...
approval for, it's the emergency bypass of the regular bidding process that we had to go to remediate it. And it may or may not hit the financial threshold, which would also require us to do this. But the reality of it is, we wanted to make sure that we're bringing it to you, as soon as it happened, and not wait until we found out whether it hit that number or not.
I would also add that we've exceeded our deductible. So much like what happened at Washington Middle School when we had the leak there in the library, the third day after school got out, same type of situation. In fact, I think the fiscal impact is not to exceed $400,000, which is, we were just under that in the insurance claim over at Washington Middle School. This could get to that level. If it does exceed that, we would come back. But at this point, it's just up to not to exceed $400,000. And it is to authorize that emergency waiver requiring the competitive bid process. I do also want to compliment Kyle, just his professionalism and working with those emergency companies that come in and addressing that so quickly has been very, very well done, and speaks highly of him and his department.
Okay, so what I would need from the board would be a motion to declare an emergency waiver of the required competitive bidding process. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to declare an emergency waiver of the required competitive bidding process. Any other questions or comments? Barb, would you call the roll, please?
Director Beckett,
Aye.
Director Navarro Jr.,
Aye.
Director Rice,
Aye.
Vice President Villanueva,
Aye.
President Walker.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Okay. Next up, we have Susan Fate present resolution 05.24.25, certification of 2025 excess property taxes and levy certification. I believe this is an annual request that we do.
Thank you, President Walker and members of the board. So before you tonight is resolution 0.05.24.25, which is levy certification. This is to certify the 2025 property tax levies. The certification must be filed annually with the Board of Yakima County Commissioners as required by the legislature. The levy amounts for the general fund and debt service fund were previously approved in the annual budget for the 24-25 school year. The 2025 tax collection year, the certified amounts were as follows. The general fund levy was $21.5 million. Debt service was $8.4 million. We kindly request the board's approval on this resolution to proceed with filing the certification as required by law.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, do I hear a motion to approve resolution 05.24?
Mr. President, I move approval of resolution 05.24.25 levy certification.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to approve resolution 05.24.25. Any other questions or comments? Barb, call the roll, please.
Director Beckett,
Aye.
Director Navarro Jr.,
Aye.
Director Rice,
Aye.
Vice President Villanueva,
Aye.
President Walker.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. We have now arrived at our second opportunity for comments from the public. This one. Okay, the board welcomes Steve McKenna to the podium.
My name is Steve McKenna, former YEA president, and I'm retired from the Yakima School District. I'm also a property owner in the Yakima School District, so I do try to pay attention to the finances. I did attend the financial information event hosted by the district at Davis High School on October 24th this year, along with about 30 other people in the remodeled Davis Auditorium. I will say the remodel is truly amazing. The marble entryway is beautiful. It has some great custom details. The granite countertops in the bathroom look outstanding. Then you walk into the auditorium and the window lights are dazzling. The wooden chairs are all gone, and they've been replaced by some very comfortable seats, and they look and feel great. Yep. Excuse me. The upstairs looked amazing. Also, the overall design that has some space to allow wheelchairs to get basically a front row seat. custom elevators, excellent. The design team was outstanding. You guys can be very proud of the job that's done there. It's truly amazing, and it'll be a great facility for band, orchestra, plays, assemblies for many generations. So, nice job. I did find the financial discussion in the auditorium interesting. There's nothing that changed my mind about how the Yakima School District got into the financial catastrophe that was declared by the board. There are inflationary pressures, but the district still has more staffing this year than the 2019-20 school year, with at least 1,500 fewer students. Why did the district continue to add staff during the last 4 years while student enrollment was declining? No one's answered that question. The board defers to the superintendent. The superintendent blames the financial issues on everything under the sun, except for the fact that the district kept adding staff and expensive programs while student enrollment was declining. Even with well over additional $80 million in COVID impact dollars during the previous several years, above the regular federal, state, and levy funds, the district had to borrow money to make our September 24 payroll with future levy funds as collateral in the TAN agreement, and by laying off 38 classified staff. This needed to be done to keep the district solvent, but the root of the problem continues to be denied. And unfortunately, we just elected a new president of the United States who wants to get rid of the Department of Education. Time will tell what kind of additional financial hit may be coming from this for the next school year. Preparations in order.
Thank you for your comments. Next up, we have some policy governance items. We have report 1000.2.6 from Mr. Murrieta, again, public access to facilities.
Thank you. This should have been posted on board docs. This is a document which gets updated every year. It basically states that we are in compliance of making our facilities available. There have been a few minor tweaks. Basically, the number of rentals or facility uses that have been for the last school year and the beginning of this school year. Over 321 facility requests for indoor and outdoor usage has been processed to date. During the 23-24 school year, there was 276 requests. As of, we also, when utilizing this, want to ensure that this is done at cost neutral. So there are some very minor tweaks to it, but with that, I ask for your approval and or any concerns that you have. This would be a perfect opportunity to bring up any of those issues.
Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, thank you, Mr. Murrieta.
You're welcome.
Next up, we have, again, Mr. Murrieta, the policy 1000.2.3, financial condition and activities.
This one I'd like to read just in a little bit more detail, the policy statement. With respect to the district's actual ongoing financial condition and activities, the superintendent will not cause or allow the development of fiscal jeopardy or material deviation of actual expenditures from the board of directors' priority established by the ends, goal, and policy. Further, without limiting the scope of the foregoing by this enumeration, the superintendent will not expend more funds than have been received in the fiscal year unless revenues are made available through other legal means, such as the use of fund balances and board authorized transfers of funds from the board, from the fund balance. I interpret this to mean that the administration will not manage the budget of the district in a manner that causes the depletion of the fund balance and reserve funds to a greater degree than the parameters established in number 3 of this delineation, unless authorized by the Board of Directors. I certify evidence of compliance. I certify that the unreserved unassigned fund balance for fiscal year of 23-24 is 2.07%. The unreserved unassigned fund balance calculation for the 23-24 operating budget with actual expenditures of $287,849,869 is $5,959,116 or 2.07%. Total fund balance is $13,618,612 or 4.4%. The board adopted the 23-24 budget and the 24-25 budget with projected reserves less than the 5% threshold. The district reduced approximately $22 million in operating expenses in the 24-25 budget to ensure solvency and to begin to rebuild the reserves. The 2023-2024 F-196 year-end financial statements are attached with additional information. If I may deviate for this for just 1 second and not trying to steal any of Jake's thunder for next presentation. When he had come to you before with conservative estimates, he had stated that we may be as low as $8 million at the ending fund balance. It is reported here that we are $5.6 million above that. We had reduced 193.5 jobs, but as of date, we have all but 10 individuals working. As I stated last time that we met, some of those individuals that we did attempt to recall took positions in other districts. So although they are not working for our district, I'm not considering them to be unemployed. And then again, today we got approval to recall 2 more laid off custodians, leaving us to a total of impacted employees down to 8 who are not physically working out of those 193.5 jobs. We have been working like crazy to ensure that we come in and meet this as required. So with that said, we are still, I think the good news is that we are at $13+ million. The bad news is that we're just a hair under the 5% that's required. So we will continue to make adjustments. We will continue to be able to do this in a more scalpeled manner because we are very close, and we will continue to work at getting our fund balance rebuilt so that in the event that we need to spend, just as we did this last year, it will be there to do so. If you have any questions or concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions, but the last 18 months have been extremely stressful. And I'm very proud of the work that we've all done.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions or comments for Mr. Maria at this point? Okay.
Thank you.
Next up, we have approval of 1003.3 or 1000.3.0, 1000.3.1, 1000.3.2, and 1000.3.3. And they were kind of linked together. The last one, we completed our Survey Monkey on that. And a summary of the feedback is 4 board members concluded that the board was in compliance. 1 board member indicated that in some areas of those, the board was not in compliance. And if I were to summarize the comments, I would briefly summarize those comments to say that one would be that the one dissenter felt that the board could be more proactive and less reactive in their planning. That we still have, and we've had discussions about this before as a board, we still have students not achieving at the levels we had hoped for. And I'm assuming we're talking about levels as measured by state testing, which is the way we measure student achievement. So we still are struggling with that as a district. And the other kind of global comment would have been that desire to engage the community more in board planning. So that's just a rough picture. If the person that had those comments would like to add to that, feel free. I would make one suggestion also, that those are certainly comments that are worth addressing. We do have a board retreat coming up in January, so that might be an opportunity for us to dig in deeper to those perceptions, but the floor is open right now.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I move approval of the ratings for policies 1000.3.0 through 1000.3.3 as attached to our board documents.
Okay, it's been moved to approve the board responses.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the board responses to the recent surveys. Any questions or comments from the rest of the board? Okay, Barb, would you call the roll, please?
Director Beckett,
Aye.
Director Navarro Jr.,
Aye.
Director Rice,
Aye.
Vice President Villanueva,
Aye.
President Walker.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. I would also add we do not have need for executive session this evening. And there are additional information reports to the board are at the bottom. So again, those are there for your perusal. Anything else for the good of the order this evening? Thank you all for attending. Thank you to our audience for attending. This meeting is adjourned.